That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly learned here.
Welcome to MOTN Reviews. This is Masters of the Nerdiverse Reviews, where we take some of cinema's most shiniest supernovas and look at some that may not be so brightly lit. This bean sprout of a podcast can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and Spotify. I'm, of course, your host, Mike G. And today we are having quite the reunion. We haven't actually done a TriCast since I made you guys watch Freaked, if I remember correctly.
That was correct.
That could explain why we haven't done this.
Well, this is a little bit better fare than Freaked, even though we got 2 out of 3 on Freaked. First, got 2 out of 3 on Freaked. That's okay.
Well, I tell you what, I like how you wrapped in a bean sprout of a podcast because it's to discuss, isn't there?
Yes, there's a lot of growth on this actual review. And if you've read the title of this review, we're actually going to be reviewing Between the Darkness, brought to us by Tri-Coast Entertainment. This is a Dark Coast Entertainment. And this was actually going to be directed by Andres Rivera. And this is quite the interesting little movie, wasn't it?
Man, you know I love me some weird character-driven horror shit, man. I don't need the gore. I don't need the blood. I just something that when the final scene cuts or rolls, you go WTF, man. WTF. So
yeah.
Okay, so before we begin, I do have to ask, when we tell us how we got connected to this film.
Actually, as we got connected to this film through Dark Coast, they actually reached out to the podcast at mastersnerdiversecast@gmail.com and asked us to review their film. It's just coming out on, I would say, various streaming services on August 20th. So we got to see this early, y'all. This is a preview of the film.
And thank you for allowing us to do so, because
Yeah,
absolutely. You're gonna be able to watch this on Amazon, iTunes, In Demand, DirecTV, Vudu, Fandango, Vimeo, Google Play, Sling, Dish, whatever you got. You're gonna be able to see this film. And boy, this film it took me by surprise, this movie did.
Yeah, I didn't quite know what to expect when we were seeing it. Like I said, I liked the synopsis didn't quite tell you like the majority of what was going on. Like I think Brian's right with saying that like he likes weird films. This is definitely a film that I could enjoy. And I know there's specific people that don't like these type of films.
Yeah.
But this is definitely something that it's like I'd probably watch again.
I mean we aren't even fast forwarding to the end, but I could eat this up again with a rewatch for sure. Yeah. For sure. But anyway, Mike.
Absolutely.
I don't want to jump to the end of the book.
It's actually let's peel the burger wrapper first. Let's get through the burger wrapper. Of course.
And this will be a non-spoiler review. So
yes, because I want you to go see this. I want you to watch this film because it is quite. It's to me, it's a tale of two movies. It's kind of a split between a coming-to-age film and kind of a film dealing with loss and loss aversion and trying to get past a loss to where you kind of don't know what's real and what isn't in this movie, which is kind of,
I'm still kind of left wondering what's real and what isn't.
Exactly.
And if we decide to go to a spoiler version of this, we can discuss some of that. But when you about this film as like a whole and the viewing experience, I was, and I love it when this happens, where I am just surprised. Like,
Yeah.
I'm happily surprised with what is being put on film for me. And the weird, freaky part about this, you call it like a mismatch of a coming of age and dealing with loss. What is the crazy movie that we recently reviewed, Mike, with a child who just walks off into the middle of nowhere after he's crowned king of God knows what?
That was. Are you talking about? We didn't review Hereditary, even though I do.
Hereditary. This reminds me of Hereditary and A Quiet Place just thrown together, and I'm like, I kind of really want this in the theater.
You know what? This reminds me.
Sound was fantastic. So creepy.
You know what reminds me of is Mandy. You know,
Interesting.
It has a very fairy tale, euphoric kind of feel to it throughout the film, even the start of the film, where you're like, okay, what's going on? And when it first starts, it makes me think like slasher film. I was like, okay, is this going to be like, is this someone like whimpering Hostel style in some dank room with a dude with a pig mask on or something nuts? But no, it's not that at all. It's really the story of our, I would say, main character, Sprout. And what got me, and I'm knocking on wood, is that this movie's also about sleep paralysis. And I suffer from sleep paralysis sometimes. So this hit me right in the gut. I was like, I don't like this.
I guess I didn't even, I don't know. I was caught up with the movie. So even some of this that you're even bringing up in the early parts of this review, I'm like, oh man, I should probably look at it from that perspective. Like, yeah, sleep paralysis. That explains it.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's very, like, I can't think of other films that have tackled sleep paralysis recently at all. It's like, I mean, there's the one documentary that has people like reenacting what they've seen in sleep paralysis, but in like what I was reading one article talking about this as like a folk horror film.
It really is folky because it's very, but given certain scenes, this could almost be like a children's tale, like where the wild things are kind of story, but it crosses some lines where it's like, yep, no kids.
No kids.
But
teenagers, I think I do some teenagers some good to see this film because there's some lessons to be learned in this film. And coming from a place like Wisconsin in the woods, man, I've known one or two people that may worship some Greek gods or whatever gods they may worship that just didn't quite seem to be on kilter with the rest of society.
Let's talk about that, because I want to go into the characters in regards to their character development, because all the characters in this movie, almost every character in this movie had some form of growth, which I love. And let's talk about starting with the father. I don't remember.
Lou Temple. Temple. And a quick shout out as far as characters go. Lou Temple, Danielle Harris, like, these people have been acting for
ever
years. You know what I mean? They brought some talent to this cast, and that really, really helped drive home what otherwise could have been considered a simple movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. There isn't a lot of FX. There isn't a lot of like flashes going on. It's pure acting on screen, which I absolutely love. So, with Lou Temple, go on.
Yeah, man. He definitely played the father, who was very. It's the movie played with you a little bit, because there are times where I was all with the father. Like, okay, he's a kooky father. He's engaged with his kids, and given the loss of their mother, their wife, he's kind of just taking them out to the middle of nowhere to kind of reset. It seemed like, you know what I mean. But that's when you first open the movie. You don't necessarily think like, no, this is infinite home. I thought they're like on some vacation or something.
And I guess that's a quick question, and this isn't a spoiler, but like Sanctuary, did it open in Sanctuary, or were they traveling to Sanctuary? Was that like permanent?
I thought they were traveling to Sanctuary.
Yeah, because when they got there, he was like, "All right, children, go off and explore." And the son's name, Perseus, his son rules. Perseus. Because the dad, like you alluded earlier, which is another foil. The dad took like he took like 10 steps forward and like 20 steps back in regards to, okay, he's cool. Oh no, he's not cool. Okay, he's cool.
Man.
He kept playing,
Absolutely.
you know.
Right. Well, I felt like the film was actually going for like a slow burn type of thing to where like if we were going to make a connection to like sleep paralysis, where you go to sleep, you're comfortable, and then it just like you wake up and well, you're kind of like, it is like a shock to your system, at least from what my one of my buddies who has it frequently talks
I'm gonna tell you guys what sleep paralysis is because I deal with it. Sleep paralysis is hit or miss. You're laying in bed and you're in your position and you're up, but you're not. Your body is locked. You can't. You're breathing in shallow breaths. You know what I'm saying? And and it's kind of like it's terrifying. And it's the most lucid dreaming because you're like, okay, this is happening. You know what to do. Force yourself awake. And it's like a wiggle your big toe kind of situation. Sometimes there's monsters. I'm not even joking. Right. Sometimes there's things in the corner. You're like, hey, what's up? You gonna do something? You ain't doing nothing.
So I feel like with just the trajectory of the film, it could be described in that context of sleep paralysis, but I could be crazy.
Well, dude, Lou Temple is broken in so many different ways, but like when we get a glance at this character and he's telling them to go run and play, you can sense how his sense of feeling comfortable in that place was. And you just get this sense that this man is broken from the inside. And I mean, you know, the God thing is
it's really the dinner table scene where they're all eating their first meal there, and he's doing his prayer to Hephaestus, I think is the god he mentioned, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's interesting, because I thought he was going to do the Lord's Prayer, but no, he goes into praising the God. What did he call it? The God of quiet,
silence.
Silence.
The God of
Harpocrates or
Harpocrates.
Yes. And little pussy
real quick.
And thank you, sir. And Sprout were just sitting there, with the little finger thing. And that was all for. And then he had a moment where he kind of reflected on his wife. And you just, like Brian was saying, you could see the break. You could see like the crack in the glass where he just kind of got. I don't know why you took her, but in your infinite wisdom, she's now walking amongst the weeds or amongst the amber rains of grain. You know what I mean? She's
absolutely.
And you can start to see, like, that's where I was like, is this guy cool? Okay, because this is one of those movies you had no idea how it's going to end. You know what I mean? And his character development, you start to see more of him as being this great father, chasing his kids, trying to educate his daughter Sprout, because we'll talk about her a little bit later. But every time he would talk to her, like one-on-one, he will reveal something like, we have what we believe in is not openly believed. And, I'm trying to shield you from, and he just starts listing off stuff like interracial marriage, like interracial relationships. I was like, whoa.
Right. He called it the otherness. And then you're like, you're hearing words like Artemis, Perseus, and then sudden he's like, interracial marriage is bad. And we're watching this movie in 2019. I'm not gonna get political real quick, but you're like, oh shit, where's this going? What am I watching right now? And like, is this dude who's like worshiping gods, like, what is the otherness? Like, is that coming to eat me?
The otherness, and that's what you think her sleep paralysis is, because when Sprout gets into that mode, she starts to see what she calls the Gorgon, right?
Mm-hmm. Gorgon, yes.
And it's this shadowy, almost. It reminds me of the demon from X-Files. Remember that episode? The serial killer who would eat the hair of his victims, and he captured Gully, and he just looked like this creepy demon thing.
Yes, I do.
That thing, that shout out to that episode. It still gives me nightmares to this day. But this Gorgon would haunt her dreams, very quiet. You never got a clean shot of the thing ever, which is good. Keep the monster in the shadows. But that goes back into her reading the books on Greek mythology and in Medusa and her wild imagination.
Well, her homework, it's not like she was reading it for fun.
Right.
Lou Temple's like, no, bro, I got a god, you're gonna have a god, you get a god, you get a god, everybody gets a god. And you're like, okay, well, that's fair enough, until he starts talking about the people that believe in the one god. Yeah. Then you're like, man, where's this dude coming from?
Yeah, so I would find it interesting with let's see here. I want to know the director's inspiration for this film, because I was getting vibes of cheesy, those cheesy Christian movies that come out with Kurt Cameron that are
by the way, just anyway.
Yeah, Kurt Cameron and the guy who plays Hercules.
Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah. So it kind of has that vibe to me in the beginning, and then it kind of it plays on that. Look, they're about to have their meal together, but then it's not what you think it's going to happen. It's actually a Greek mythology based.
Yeah.
And then but there's still that the weirdness of the father, to where the movie never what we talked about, does not give a definitive answer of whether in this world, whether it's all in the dad's head or not. I think they actually make a good there's actually a small quiet community that used to come up here, but for this special occasion it's just his family.
Well, I think that goes back into the origins of the father, which he kind of divulges to his daughter when he's completely gone. And that's that we were once free and we worship different gods then, which makes me think they were they were worshiping heathen gods at some point. And because he had the children with his wife, they had to kind of readjust and reshape their religion.
Well, they pointed specifically to a different statue. The way it came out to me was they were worshiping a different Greek god.
Yeah.
But because of the murder that he caused, he devoted his life to the god of silence, so that no one will talk about the murder that he committed.
I didn't catch that. I did not catch that.
Okay.
I did catch that, and I don't think it's going to hold up in a court of law. But
Judge Judy just looks right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, well, God is a god of silence, so I can't really say anything about any of that. Religious beliefs in the court of law, I mean, it might hold up, but that's a story for another day. But
yeah, man. And now thinking about it, given what he was talking about, we enjoyed each other, we drank with each other, it makes me think that maybe the god they worshipped before was Dionysus. Because there's a moment where the park ranger says, "Oh, I'll bring some wine," and he kind of smirks and said, "Dionysus would be pleased." You know what I mean? And then and then we got to go into. And I think without going into spoilers, maybe we'll do spoilers later, but that'd be a good segue to go into his older daughter. The older daughter that's kind of on the periphery of this film the whole time. The mystery of what happened with her and how she was shifting she chose her god to be Aphrodite. He thought that was not, he didn't approve of that god.
I was wrong.
You told me I could choose any god I want. I chose Aphrodite, the goddess of love. He's like, no.
That's not a good god.
That's not a good one. Choose again. You did a bad roll. You got a natural one. You know what I mean? You need to roll again.
Which makes you think that he truly believes in the Greek gods, and this is he's worshiping. Which adds, when you start thinking about, well, what would it be like if I worshipped Greek gods?
Right.
Like now.
Perseus and Artemis and Aphrodite. Well, I'm not sure about Aphrodite, but they were children of Zeus, so obviously he's the Zeus in the movie. But you start thinking about, well, what would it be like to worship 15 gods and be like, no, I'm just gonna pick one and that's mine. Mike, you playing some D&D lately? Being a D&D guy, I was like, this is fantastic. I don't know. can we do this? Is this a
Pick your class, dude. Pick your class.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? And that's a very good segue to, I would say, the one actress who stole this movie, which was Sprout, the main actress.
Nicole Morin Sherman.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. And we're introduced to her kind of, not a girl, not yet a woman. Kind of, she's starting to begin blossoming into an adult. And she's in a situation where her father is constantly kind of browbeating that. He's suppressing it because he saw the way that his older daughter went. You know what I mean? So, so anytime the Sprout would do anything trying to, I would say, like her femininity blossom, he would repress it. And how many times in the movie did he say, okay, you tried to show off your midriff to absolutely no one and everyone? How about an hour of silence? Okay.
Yeah.
You came out and said hi to so-and-so. You weren't supposed to do that. How about an hour of silence? He was constantly suppressing her, which I think was a root cause of her sleep paralysis, because most sleep paralysis is brought on by the feeling of suppression or anxiety. You know what I mean? And she was feeling this anxiety about she doesn't know what to do with these emotions, or she was like, I'm 13. I'm growing up now, and Dad was not trying to hear it. That's why he never called her by her name. You didn't know her name until the very end of the movie. And
no, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? And she goes through this cycle of really just coming to age. It's just really her being a warrior woman, her and her sick Princess Mononoke makeup and her makeshift staff and shield she made.
Dude, I love the staff and shield, bro. I was like, can I make those? That's kind of dope.
Now, I have to ask, did you think halfway in the film when they first showed the staff that it was not real metal?
I think that was just, I hate to say, I think that was just, sometimes it looked real metal because she was sharpening it at certain parts of the movie.
I thought it was a real staff.
Because
there were some scenes where it didn't look real. I would say that.
Well, there is a scene where she is stabbing the tree and then the blade comes off and it kind of looks like cardboard. But I thought there was a part of me going, oh, well, she's like pretending to be a warrior, and eventually there's going to be like a weapon that looks similar or something like that. But in the end, it actually,
I know the part you're talking about, because the actual staff itself, because she's working on it and refining it throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, so it could been refined. I just missed that part.
And it also looked like it was on a hinge, like the actual blade was like on a hinge. So when she poked it, it kind of just bent like a sickle, and then she straightened it back up. You know what I mean? And then later on, you see her wrapping it with like tape or something to like secure the point. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she was super fascinating, and her kind of constantly asking her dad for a kind of affirmation. I'm seeing this Gorgon. Do you believe me? And Dad's like, no, I believe that you believe. You know, like perfect parent kind of talk. You know, I believe that you believe you saw what you saw, but maybe your little imagination is going a little too crazy. How about an hour of silence? Jeez.
Well, the Gorgons in Greek mythology was three sisters, and one of which who was Medusa, and Medusa was the mortal one, but the other two were not, and they were like, the Gorgons. At any rate, look, he brought the word Gorgon up. She did. You know what I mean? It's not like she had a dream and she was like, I saw a Gorgon. So he's referencing, as we see further along, he's referencing like this imaginary creature, which, as we're having this discussion, my mind is just twisted right now. I'm like, were they sane? Was he sane? Who were they even talking on the same level? You know what I mean? Because from our conversation, it seems as though I am saying that he believed what he was saying, and you guys seem to be saying that it was a make-believe world that they were kind of living in.
No, I'm saying that you find out that it's actually very real according to the.
And I'm saying I think it's a little. I still think it's not real. I think this is all the psychosis of a father and a daughter who has traits of psychosis like her father, and he's nurtured it since she was born. Like he even said, "I made you in my image." You know what I mean?
Got herself a good movie.
You know what I'm saying? Got ourselves a good movie. We got a live one. And I just think that I think that none of it was real. I think it was all in their heads. There was nothing physical to the Gorgon or to when she was like, remember when she went into the woods and she saw those rabbit pelts hanging everywhere? And she had that episode and she was like, the Gorgon froze me. He's like, no, I think you just had like a seizure or something. Like you just kind of freaked out. We don't know why. Here, drink this potion. Take this pill.
But, yeah, by the way, I want to back up to that one scene because he's like, I take one of these pills. And he gave her the whole pill. And I'm like, bro, you're like a 40-year-old man.
Right.
What are you giving this child one of that you eat? Because it's not going to work out well. But
vitamins, bro. Vitamins. That's vitamins. They're both schizophrenic. He gave her one of his medical pills that he would take to reduce the schizophrenia. And the pill she took, he didn't take, so he started to go crazy.
Should we do a spoiler alert call?
I would like to talk about one more character before we go into spoiler alert.
Okay.
I would like to talk about the little one, Perseus, and that can be a segue to spoilers because he is a big
Tate
spoiler.
Birchmore.
I
don't know. It was my first time seeing his name, hearing his name, but I'm sure it will not be the last time I hear his name.
Nah, little man almost stole the movie. I really dug him. At first, you could tell he's a germaphobe. He's just kind of in the house, you know. He has the giant kitchen mitts, and under that he has his hands wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was a germaphobe or just didn't like to touch stuff.
I was waiting for like the father to just like mention something about the hands. I was really hoping that was going to have more of a play into the film, like like the father had like some weird attachment to he cannot touch anything, and then it turned out the first thing he touches is blah blah. Well,
right,
yeah. I think even Sprout was trying to get him to kind of shed that layer, kind of, you know, here, get your gloves, you dumb biscuit, and then she'll just run off into the forest, and he would have to figure out and follow her through. But he can only make it so far because of his trauma. That's why I was like, this movie's all about the pain of them losing their mother, and kind of because even in scenes where Sprout Sprout was having having dreams about. Oh, that's spoilers. Okay, well, wait. But going back to Perseus, whenever he got close to that tree, that little hanging tree with all the little doodads on it, he would think about his mom, and then he would just start crying and belt back. You know what I mean? The husband getting over the loss of his wife. You know
and I thought that was his sister. I don't think they ever directly showed the mother in that scene.
Yeah. They only mentioned the mom twice, I believe.
When they flash, and that's why I was a bit confused with Perseus and that scene with the tree, because I was like, all right, well, what you're saying is he's in trauma from losing his sister because that's who they showed. It's like,
oh, I mixed them up because
little man's how old? Like 7?
7? 8?
He can't be that old, man. He's tiny.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't that mixed up.
What winner? Their third vote? Was it the sister or the mother?
It was the brother.
I feel like it was more of the sister, just with how much they were pushing the sister angle. Like I said, the mom wasn't talked about too much. It was more like the mom was a tragedy that happened long ago, while the sister was the tragedy that they were the reason
happened recently.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out that time frame, like how close together was them losing their mother to them losing their sister, and I couldn't pin it down, like just how much time passed. Like what were they actually in mourning of? It must have been the sister, right?
Yeah, that's what at least what I was getting from it.
But then again,
I was getting not necessarily mourning. Like I never felt like they were in mourning. I felt like they were just in sanctuary to get away from everything. There were a bunch of memories there of their sister and mother and blah blah blah. But like it just happened to be a moment in the course of this year where they were at Sanctuary more so than they went there to mourn the loss.
Makes sense. Let's get into spoilers.
Well, before we hit spoilers, just in case, do you want to wrap, do a rating now, and then those who want spoilers can listen after, or?
Okay. How does that sound to you, Winner? You want to just kind of do like a...
Yeah, I mean, that could save you time, or you can just tell people, splice it audio, go to time stamp, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So I think this will be the perfect conclusion of our non-spoiler review of Between the Darkness. What's your overall thought about the film?
My overall thought about the film is you need to watch it. You're not going to be disappointed. I would rewatch it. So wherever it's streaming, go pay for it. It will not be the worst movie you saw this year. I promise.
Beautiful. What would you rate it out from 0 stars to 5 stars?
I'm giving this a 4.2.
Ooh.
4.2. It has one or two flaws, yes, but ultimately character-driven, acting-driven, and man, it left me a tad bit unsettled, which I'm sure we'll get into in Spoilerland.
Beautiful. What's your verdict, Winner?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a movie that you have to watch, and I think there are some questions that I still left, and they're like, if I was in charge, I probably wouldn't have made that decision, but I wasn't, and I'm like, the bottom line, I have to ask myself, am I upset that I wasted time watching it, or did I enjoy the experience? And I enjoyed the experience, and therefore it was a piece of art that I enjoyed. So I give it 3.5 stars.
There you go, the Russian judge over here, Doug.
I think everything that he said is absolutely fair. But
absolutely, yeah.
Great watch.
Perfect. Okay, what we got? We got great acting across the board, I would say. Amazing storytelling. I like the actual story overall. Great cinematography. The crane shots, the hazy dream sequences, all very masterfully done. I would say I believe you mentioned earlier, Brian, the music was very groovy.
Music, ambient sound, fantastic. Creepy,
atmospheric, not too bloody, but bloody enough. You know what I'm saying? And it just leaves you with questions. And the best thrillers, the best horror movies always leave you with questions. With that, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like you said, this would be one that I would like to have on rotation, maybe around the holidays. I don't know why. Like an end of summer movie. It's like the perfect end of summer movie for me. So I would give it a 4 out of 5. I think it was very good.
4 out of 5. Wow.
I really like it.
I'm gonna have to say something here because you mentioned the dream sequences, and this is bringing up another point that I had written down, but I left my notes at work. Specifically, I am amazed with how clean it looked, the whole movie. I cannot imagine it having a big budget, sort of thing.
100%.
Yeah. So I think I have to upgrade my rating to a 4 because I wasn't considering when I was doing the 3.5, how I look for films, how they make the best bang for their buck.
Think about it. Yeah. It was on one location. It had a handful of actors and actresses. Like you said, the budget couldn't have been have been LucasArts, right? So with what they had and with the script and with the storytelling and the actual plot, yes, this is a solid 4.5 out of me. You know what I'm saying? It's great.
That might not work with particular other people who don't think about the budget. I'm sure if I sit somebody down, but they still would like it, I think. So
that's why we're the masters of the nerdiverse.
And they're not. The plebs. Got it.
No, I'm just kidding. All love. Peace be to okay. Before, I'm not gonna ask Winner, but who would your Greek god be, Brian?
Dude, I'm taking Zeus. I'm sorry. Like, what do you?
Dude, that's a little ham-fisted there, man. That's strong.
What do you want me to do? Who else are you taking?
I don't know, man.
Blacksmith one.
So, yeah, man. I'm gonna take Poseidon because he rules, and I'm a water sign.
Okay, I mean,
rule.
he's like the Zeus of the water. What are you talking about? It's not like you took freaking Apollo or somebody or Hercules. You know what I mean? You didn't go with the half man. You went with the king of the freaking water.
Under the sea.
Everything's better. Now it's wetter. Take it from Poseidon.
Yeah. You can hear that song 24/7.
At other places other than this podcast, because we don't want this to be stricken by copyright law. La, 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 la. So I think this will be the end of the non-spoiler podcast. Definitely thank you for Dark Coast to giving us this opportunity to review your film. I think it really made all of our days. And like I said before, you can view this fine thriller, this horror film, on August 20th on Amazon, iTunes, In Demand, DirecTV, Vudu, Fandango, Vimeo On Demand, AT&T, Google Play, Sling, and Dish. And if you wanted to stick around for spoilers, this is the spoiler alert. Spoiler. So this is where we're going to talk. We're going to spoil the mess out of this movie now. So be prepared. Okay. I mean, you put that in my head. It's not fair.
Okay. I'll just get it right out of the bat. Did you get sexual assault vibes from the father?
No. Not at all, dude.
Look, I I knew something was gonna happen, but I wasn't expecting Chick to, whatever. And I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, this just went down real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember what I was mentioning earlier when I was saying the father would take 10 steps forward, like 50 steps back, right? But every time, be like, he's a cool dad. Okay, he's talking about like interracial marriages and the other and all this stuff that he doesn't like. Okay, he's a cool dad. When the daughter is like dancing seductively, he just throws like a beer bottle at the floor and it shuts it all down and then flips on a dime to talk to the sheriff lady. Oh, he's not all bad. He lets the daughter go to sleep while he just walks into the forest naked and starts howling to the moon.
Still have no idea what that specific scene was about.
That's why I was like, that's some pagan god stuff, dude. He was trying to attune, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they're his original gods. Like the god he worships, like you said, the god he worships now, it's because he wanted to keep. I mean, this is full spoiler, the murder of the older sister silent.
Correct.
The god of silence. So I think the god he worshipped before was some wild and out like Dionysus, who was all about partying and drinking and fornication and all that crazy.
Yeah, dude, the 60s, the 70s. It was a good time from what I heard. I wasn't around, but yeah, I mean, it sounded like there were a bunch of swingers hanging out doing drugs in the forest.
So we didn't mention her in the non-spoiler, but Danielle Harris's character and her son, who were I would say, the catalysts of the climax of the film. Without them, it wouldn't have happened because they were. What did he call her? Because there's a scene where the father's having a nightmare. He called her a succubus.
Succubus.
And there was a scene where Sprout was having a night terror on the couch, and he was having a dream about her in his dream, and that kind of started all of his kind of pseudo madness. Because he was having a wet dream, dude. He was going through it.
But he wasn't having a dream until Sprout was in the house. When that's when the Gorgon came up. So like he just randomly started having a wet dream, like when she's in the house. Like this is where I'm still like torn between. I mean, the Gorgon wasn't real. It was her dead sister. I mean, not real. You know what I mean? But their mythology behind it. Sprout seems to me to think it was real.
And so does he. And so does he. And there's a scene where he has that dinner bell, that chime, that he would kind of
triangle.
What's it called?
The triangle.
The triangle. And there's a scene where he's worshiping to his god. He's like, leave her alone. You know what I'm saying? Like even he's like, don't take her. And it's like, who is he talking to? Is he talking to his guys? Is he talking to the Gorgon? Does he start to believe at that point? It's a very quick scene, but he gets frustrated, and that's where he takes her down to the crawl space and says, "I'm having a confliction of faith. I'm having a confliction of being a father. I'm just going to be honest with you because I'm to the point where I believe that this is real, that the gods are working against us for whatever reason."
When he first took her down to that crawl space, who else thought that she was not going to be coming out of that crawl space? I was like, no, she's not coming out of here, man. This is terrible.
I thought that was the climax. I thought that was going to be the end of the movie. It's going to end really bad, real fast.
45-minute movie.
Like, bruh. Yeah. But then you have, to go back to Danielle Harris's character, who is a normal human. She is the other, right? She's the otherness.
Yes.
She's like, "No, let your hair down, sweetie. You're a woman. When you fall for a guy, you're going to feel the tingle in your tummy and you're going to know you're in love." And she was just trying to like, "Oh, I really like your dad. I think he's not normal. I think he's cool." And she's like, and Sprout being, how she was raised, women and boys aren't supposed to play, right? Women and boys aren't supposed to play. So
correct.
She brings her that weird son, him and his drone, dude.
Right.
That was the only thing that was really out of place, was that drone. You're like,
drone, dog. Like, bro.
Right. I mean, there's like two main like points of the film that made me like turn my head a little bit of like, what's the point of it? And the drone, I kind of went like, okay, they needed something that was like 2019 that you don't
grounded.
Yeah, like you can buy a broken controller for like $10 and pretend like there's a drone flying around.
They showed it once.
They did?
They showed it once.
One time, because Luke Temple called it the something machine.
He called it like a whirly bird, dog. He's like,
"Oh yeah, that's right."
Your son and his little contraption,
whirly bird. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if all the crane shots was just from that actual drone? You think you could have got that high?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
I think it definitely was drone shots. Like I asked, first of all, I need some clarification on etiquette. Is it etiquette to have one person with you watching the screener with you?
I think it's fine as long as there's no NDA. So we're good on that front.
Okay. So I asked the person how do you think they did that shot? It's a drone.
Drone shot.
There's no way.
Beautiful shots. It reminded me of the beginning of Pet Sematary of the remake, where you just see forest. The Shining shot where it's just do. You just see like the infinite forest. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, that was Kubrick, so it could have been a drone then, but
Kubrick had the first drone in 1974.
Yeah. You know what? I believe that. I would absolutely believe that.
So, like you were mentioning earlier, like it wasn't the consensual sex that went too far. And when he gave into his sin, when he gave into her temptations and they were doing it, did you hear what he was saying? He was like, "It's time for you to atone."
Oh yeah, man. He had a hold of the succubus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had this. He's like, "This is the only way I can get a hold of it."
You're not going to take my children.
You're not going to take my. What do you want? You want my children? You want my faith? You're not going to have it. It's time for you to atone. She's like, "What?" She doesn't know what's going on.
What in the world?
And the worst part is that Sprout is just watching this whole thing, being pretty much living in a sexless, kind of like affectionless life, just seeing that, and her little mind is just blown. She's like, "What is happening?" Right. And to see him just dart. The scariest part is he sees her see him, and then he just starts darting towards her. I'm like, "Oh, jeez."
Dude, he went full on batshit crazy, man.
He's all boned up, dude. He's going like, "Oh my god, no."
he was pretty good. I did have a question about the Perseus scene at the end. Like, didn't he like push out his eyes?
No, he's like a 3-year-old kid though, man.
Yeah, but then he came walking up with his eyes, and I was like,
I think he poked him in the eyes. I don't think he punctured him though.
I think he just put dirt on his eyes, and I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I'm assuming there's some Greek mythology connection to that.
Yeah, because he pretty much Pokemon evolved into that little warrior he became. You know what I'm saying?
Reviews.
Yeah, somewhere off site, he turned from a Perseus to like a Perseus.
Perseus is the one who beheaded Medusa. So,
ooh,
like the Gorgon Medusa, and it's like, well.
So, do you think the father could have been a Gorgon?
This is my point. Like, if you're reading, if they're doing the Greek mythology thing the whole way through, and it's kind of intertwined, I mean, do you change Greek mythology? Weren't we just talking about this, Mike, about changing things that have already been written for you? You got kind of heated. I'm like, so. I mean, was the father?
Because when you're sleeping, could it have been the father coming in on his daughter all those times?
I mean, quite possible. And
the daughter in her dream saw it as some kind of apparition. I think they want to push it for it to be the older sister.
Mm-hmm.
But what if it was the dad? And you know how sometimes when you sleep, you're affected by what's going on around you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, don't they reveal, like, at the end of the film that...
it's the sister. The Gorgon is the sister, and that's where the pops... Because at the most, like, physically, what are these two children going to do to this grown man at the most?
But then they also show, like, even though the father's dead, like, in the back shot of when they're in the car, which I do not like, but they like the father. Like,
you look cool, get in.
Yeah. Can we talk about the ending part?
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious if I'm, like, taking crazy pills, or this is something, like, I'm a Martian, but I felt like that was just so out of place for an end for this film.
Okay.
Of like,
let's talk about what happened. So
yeah, go ahead.
Sprout deals the killing blow to their dad, right? With this weapon she's been playing with the entire film, training with, all that.
Mm-hmm.
The dad goes, why? Because he's just in utter disbelief that his children would, quote unquote, betray him, but even though he just choked her out and just killed like two people, because he killed the son too, the boy, and they wander until like the nearest dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and they meet this traveling band in like a Mini Cooper,
right?
And they're just like, hey, they're cute, get them in the car. I'm like, what does that even mean? And then
go on.
And then they ask him, hey, what's your name? And then Sprout's going to say Sprout, but then she says her real name, which is, I don't want to get the name wrong. I think it's like Alina, something like that. But I don't remember directly because they only said it once. And they get in the back seat. They're just like, yeah, we're hauling ass to Lollapalooza or something.
Well, even before they leave, the guy in the back plays them a song.
It's like a little ditty. He plays like a little ditty.
But it for me, it was Strokes of the Lost Boys. You know, the opening scene, people are strange, blah, blah, blah. And it just, again, like Hereditary, when the end of Hereditary hit, you were like, wait, I want to see what comes before or after that. I don't know which, but I need to see more. And that's kind of what I felt with that ending, because it leaves you going. So is the otherness an actual thing? Like the chick, like, do we take them? Do we eat them? What'd she say? Do we like steal them? Like, who comes across some kids and says some shnipe like that?
Am I tripping? Or is the song that they were dancing to at the middle of the film the same song he was playing? He said, you might have heard me on the radio. And he said,
that I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I thought it was like some old-timey song, but the song he was playing was kind of old-timey too.
For the life of me, I thought, like, there's some deal going on with the director. this dude. Hey, I'm like, I'll give you $1,000 if you put in my song at the end of the movie. And
but it does have ties because they had to be rescued by somebody.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And like you're mentioning at the end, Perseus noticed that the ghosts of their father are the spirit of their dad or something like that, but still following them.
And can we talk about that for a second? Like, what? So none of this was real. None of the sleep paralysis, the spirit of the sister with the Gorgon. But all of a sudden, last shot of the film is like Lou looking at Perseus and like passing on this craziness gene to him.
Yep, I think that's 100% what it is.
And then that shot of Perseus, and I was like, "Oh my god, this kid is gonna kill people, man!"
Yeah.
For a television show,
Don't get it twisted. This is not a happy ending.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, the kid went crazy.
The kid went crazy, had a psychotic break, and watched his father die before his eyes. Now he has the sickness. Now he's seeing his own version of the Gorgon, which is now his dad.
And his father, Lou, had said, your grandfather built the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm left like, well, what was granddad like? And someone's got to come for the ranger sooner or later. I mean, a ranger just can't disappear with a child and like, oh, what happened to them? We don't know.
Well, those kids were off the grid. They did not they were homeschooled, so nobody was missing that family.
Right.
You know, they didn't have any friends like this. They had no cell phones. They had no TVs, no internet, no nothing. So those kids belong to those musicians now. And even the musicians mentioned, well, there's a ranger station, you know, like a half a mile up. We could drop them off there, but they don't know that the ranger is dead and her kid's dead, even if that's the same ranger. You know what I'm saying? So it's really left kind of ambiguous with not a happy ending to what's going to happen with these kids. You know what I mean? Because they're both jacked up.
Jacked up, man. It was a jacked up film.
Right.
It was a jacked up film, man. Like, it was jacked.
I love it. I love it. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we shut this down?
If you stuck with us this long through the spoilers, and actually, I think through our spoiler, you could probably still go through and watch it, and you would WTF.
It's a visual slice of pie. Definitely watch this, please.
Watch it, man. This is a good flick. It's a good flick.
Yeah, like I said, it's still a great movie and great viewing experience for folks. I mean, it zigs when you think it's gonna zag to me.
Yep.
And it's like a category of film that we don't have that much of, like a non, like a
folk horror.
Yeah.
Dude, I want more of it. Give me more of this horror right here.
Do you hear that, Dark Coast? We want more.
Yeah, we
Greek
want
mythology
more.
horror. There we go. Greek mythology horror or whatever.
Greek mythology horror, man. The sequel should have like a minotaur, bro.
Dude, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
It's like takes place in the future, and Perseus is a grown man.
Yes, he
With
wears
a punk minotaur.
Yeah, he wears a bull's head, and he like kills people.
They go back to the sanctuary.
Yeah. We left something there.
Yeah, between the darkness too. Back to the sanctuary.
How about you want to bet that character of the DJ boy over the radio?
And now he's like a superstar, and two kids are super rich because they live with them.
You know who that felt like to me, honestly, that black dude. I don't know who his name was, but
Reggie Watts.
Are you a winner? Did you play Fallout?
Who's about like Trey Dog? What's his name?
Yes. Who's the radio dude? In 3, I think
Three Dog. Three Dog. Yeah.
Three Dog. That's exactly. And I was like, did someone play Fallout and put this dude in here? Like, that's what it feels like.
That's what he was doing before the bombs dropped. He was going. He picked up these two kids that ended up being like, they ended up joining the Brotherhood of Steel, and they had powers.
That's great.
For more content like this. If you want to listen to more MOTN reviews, please visit our website, which is mastersnerdiversecast.com. where you can listen to all of our episodes, all of our reviews, all of our top 10s. We have hours upon hours of good content, so I would definitely be most appreciated if you give us a try. If you would like to support this channel, you can definitely do so through our Patreon, which is MOTN/Patreon/MOTN. Brain went a little backwards there because I'm so backwards and besmitten by all of the love that the community is giving us. May it be on Twitter at MNerdiverse or however you're listening to this podcast. I want to thank Brian in Winter for joining me on this very special episode.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And we will always ask you, you, to look towards the skies, to look towards the